Imagine a landmass moving so fast and colliding with such unimaginable violence that it actually thrusts the ancient ocean floor straight into the sky.
Yeah, just straight up.
Right. A collision so profound that it creates a wall of solid rock high enough to alter the jet stream, like dictate the climate of an entire hemisphere.
And shape the destiny of over 1 billion people.
Exactly. That is the story of India. When we look at a map, we're kind of conditioned to see static lines, clean borders, neat little colored shapes.
Right, like a puzzle.
Yeah, exactly. We assume geography is just the stage where human history happens. But the deeper you look, the more you realize that the stage itself is, well, it's the lead actor.
It's the ultimate invisible hand, really.
Mm-hmm.
The physical terrain, the latitude, the placement of the mountains versus the oceans. These
Right.
aren't just background details.
Right.
They are the actual mechanisms that dictate where empires rise, how trade routes form, what crops can grow,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately how human beings interact with one another. Geography is literally destiny.
It really is. Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we are taking a microscopic look at the physical geography of India.
Which is such a massive topic.
It is. So we're working from a foundational geographical textbook that lays out the structural realities of the country, its size, its location, its borders, and its place in the world.
But we aren't just going to recite coordinates, right?
No, definitely not. But we are going to do something a bit special for this deep dive because we really want to help you, the listener, fully grasp this material without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, we want to make it super accessible.
Exactly. So we are going to read every single part of the original text exactly as it is written, paragraph by paragraph.
Right. And then I'll jump in. After we read the exact quotes, we will work together to break down all those difficult words, the concepts, the long sentences. We'll put it into plain, easy-to-understand language.
I love that. By the end of this deep dive, you won't just know map coordinates. You will actually understand how India's physical placement has shaped its entire history.
Yeah, and its relationship with the world.
Okay, let's jump right into part one. The ancient civilization and modern progress. Here is the first original text reading. Quote, India is one of the ancient civilizations in the world. It has achieved multifaceted socioeconomic progress during the last 5 decades.
Right.
It has moved forward, displaying remarkable progress in the field of agriculture, industry, technology, and overall economic development.
Yeah, and the last line.
India has also contributed significantly to the making of world history. End quote. Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah, let's start with that phrase, multifaceted socioeconomic progress. It sounds super dense.
It really does. What does that actually mean?
It basically just means India has improved in a lot of different areas of life and money over the last 50 years.
Right.
Multifaceted means many sides.
Okay, got it. And the text gives us some simple examples of those sides, right? Like agriculture, which is farming, industry, which is, factories and manufacturing, and technology.
Right, like computers and space innovation. So the main takeaway here is that, yes, India is incredibly old and ancient civilization, but it isn't stuck in the past.
It's rapidly growing.
Exactly. It's changing world history right now.
Okay, moving to part two. Pinpointing India on the globe. We're talking about location now. You want to read this next quote?
Quote, location. India is a vast country. Lying entirely in the northern hemisphere, the mainland extends between latitudes 8 degrees, 4 minutes north, and 37 degrees, 6 minutes north.
Right.
And longitudes 68 degrees, 7 minutes east, and 97 degrees, 25 minutes east. End quote.
Okay, that is a lot of numbers.
It is.
But let's use an analogy here. Think of latitudes and longitudes like a giant grid or like a worldwide street address system used to find literally anything on Earth.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
Yeah.
And the text says it lies entirely in the northern hemisphere.
Which just means the top half of the globe, right?
It's exactly, above the equator. And those numbers, the N stands for north and the E stands for east. So if you look at a globe, India is squarely in the top right quarter of the map.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, the text highlights a very specific line. Quote, the Tropic of Cancer, 23 degrees, 30 minutes north, divides the country into almost 2 equal parts. End quote.
So the Tropic of Cancer is basically an invisible line drawn horizontally across the Earth.
Like a belt.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine a belt cinched right around the middle of India, cutting it into a top half and a bottom half.
And that actually has huge climate implications, right?
Oh, absolutely. It creates a massive thermal boundary. The bottom half is baking in tropical heat, and the top half gets more distinct seasons.
Okay, let's keep going. Quote, to the southeast and southwest of the mainland lie the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep Islands in Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, respectively.
Hmm.
Find out the extent of these groups of islands from your atlas. End quote.
What's fascinating here is how the text actually challenges you, the reader, to use an atlas. It's encouraging active learning.
Yeah, it doesn't just give you all the answers, but let's break down those directions.
Right.
If you look at the bottom of India, to the lower right, that's the southeast, is a huge body of water called the Bay of Bengal.
And that's where the Andaman and Nicobar Islands are.
Exactly. And to the lower left, the southwest, is the Arabian Sea. That's home to the Lakshadweep Islands.
Right. And there's a really interesting marginal note in the text about this southern area. Quote, the southernmost point of the Indian Union, Indira Point, got submerged under the seawater in 2004 during the tsunami. End quote.
Wow. Okay, so submerged just means it sank completely underwater.
Yeah, it did. The 2004 tsunami was this massive, violent ocean wave caused by an earthquake. It actually changed the physical map of India.
Wait, really? It just erased the absolute lowest tip of the country?
It literally hid it under the ocean. It's a stark reminder that geography is constantly shifting.
That is wild. Okay, let's move into part 3, understanding the scale. Size and boundaries.
I'll read this part. Quote, size. The landmass of India has an area of 3.28 million square kilometers.
Right.
India's total area accounts for about 2.4% of the total geographical area of the world.
Mm-hmm.
From figure 1.2, it is clear that India is the 7th largest country of the world. End quote.
I marvel at those numbers. Think about it this way. If you took all the land on Earth, right, and you cut it into 100 equal slices,
Okay.
India would be almost 2.5 of those slices, all to itself.
Yeah, and being the 7th largest country means there are literally only 6 other countries in the entire world that are bigger. It establishes a massive physical footprint.
Right. Now, securing that footprint is wild. Quote, India has a land boundary of about 15,200 kilometers, and the total length of the coastline of the mainland, including Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep, is 7,516.6 kilometers, end quote.
Let's clarify the difference there for a second. The land boundary is the border shared with other countries on solid ground.
Like fences or mountains.
Exactly. And the coastline is where the land actually meets the ocean.
Right.
Over 7,000 kilometers of coast is huge.
Okay, here comes a fun geography term. Quote, India is bounded by the Young Fold Mountains in the northwest, north, and northeast. South of about 22 degrees north latitude, it begins to taper and extends towards the Indian Ocean, dividing it into 2 seas, the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal on its east, end quote. Okay, what in the world is a Young Fold Mountain?
Yeah, it sounds like an oxymoron, right? Basically, it simply means the Himalayas. They are called young because, well, in Earth's history, they were formed relatively recently. The land literally squished together and folded upward.
Folded, like an accordion.
Exactly. And then the text talks about the land tapering south at 22 degrees latitude.
Right, tapering. Imagine a slice of pizza, you know? Or an ice cream cone. How it gets narrower at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a great visual.
This narrowing tip of India literally splits the ocean water into 2 separate seas.
Now look at this next part. Quote, look at figure 1.3. And note that the latitudinal and longitudinal extent of the mainland is about 30 degrees.
Right.
Despite this fact, the east-west extent appears to be smaller than the north-south extent. End quote.
Okay, let's unpack that. From top to bottom and from left to right, India covers the same number of map degrees, 30 degrees.
Right.
But wait, if it's 30 degrees both ways, shouldn't it look like a perfect square on a map? Why doesn't it?
That is a great question. It's actually a quirk of how maps are drawn. Because the Earth is a sphere, lines of longitude, the up and down lines, they actually get closer together as they go near the poles.
Oh, right, like the lines on a pumpkin converging at the top.
Exactly. So 30 degrees across the middle of the pumpkin is a shorter physical distance than 30 degrees up and down.
That is so cool. Okay, next quote. From Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh, there is a time lag of 2 hours. Hence, time along the standard meridian of India, 82 degrees 30 minutes east, passing through Mirzapur in Uttar Pradesh, is taken as the standard time for the whole country. End quote.
So Gujarat is on the far west edge of India, and Arunachal Pradesh is on the far east edge.
And because the Earth spins, the sun rises in the east first, right?
Exactly. It takes 2 full hours for the sun to travel from the east coast to the west coast.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, think about why a standard meridian is even needed.
Right, because if every town used its own sun time, like The trains would be a total mess.
Total chaos. Business would be impossible. So India picked one single line down the middle of the map through that town called Mirzapur.
And they basically said, whatever time it is right here, it's that time everywhere in India.
Exactly. One clock for the whole country.
Okay, here's the last quote for part 3. The latitudinal extent influences the duration of day and night as one moves from south to north.
Right.
And there's a margin question here, too. Why is the difference between the durations of day and night hardly felt at Kanyakumari, but not so in Kashmir? End quote.
Let's tackle that day and night question. Kanyakumari is a town at the very, very bottom of India, the deep south.
So it's super close to the equator.
Right. And at the equator, days and nights are roughly equal all year long, about 12 hours each.
But Kashmir is way far up in the north.
Yeah. And up there, the physical tilt of the earth makes a huge difference. It makes summer days much, much longer and winter nights much longer.
Just like how it gets dark super early in the winter in places like Canada.
Exactly.
Okay, part 4, India's connection to the world. We're zooming out now.
Yeah, I'll read this one. Quote, India and the world. The Indian landmass has a central location between the East and the West Asia. India is a southward extension of the Asian continent. End quote.
So picture the giant continent of Asia in your head. India isn't just like off to the side somewhere. It hangs down right dead in the center.
Right between the Middle East, which is West Asia, and places like China and Japan, which are East Asia.
Right. Quote, the trans-Indian ocean routes, which connect the countries of Europe in the west and the countries of East Asia, provide a strategic central location to India. End quote.
So trans-Indian ocean routes is just a fancy way of saying the paths ships take to cross the ocean.
And because India is right in the middle, it's basically the perfect pit stop.
Yeah, it's a massive trading hub for any ship sailing between Europe and East Asia. You practically have to go past it.
Which leads to the next point. Quote, note that the Deccan Peninsula protrudes into the Indian Ocean, thus helping India to establish close contact with West Asia, Africa, and Europe from the western coast, and with Southeast and East Asia from the eastern coast. End quote.
Protrudes just means it sticks out.
Like a giant wedge.
Exactly. Because the bottom part of India, the Deccan Peninsula, sticks out so far into the water, its left coast easily trades with Africa and Europe.
And its right coast easily trades with Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's perfectly positioned.
Yeah.
In fact, here's a fun fact from the text. Quote, no other country has a long coastline on the Indian Ocean as India has.
Right.
And indeed, it is India's eminent position in the Indian Ocean, which justifies the naming of an ocean after it. End quote.
I love that fact. The Indian Ocean is literally the only major ocean on Earth named after a specific country.
And the textbook says it's entirely because India has the longest coastline touching it. It dominates the space.
Now look at this marginal note. This is super important. Quote, since the opening of the Suez Canal in 1869, India's distance from Europe has been reduced by 7,000 kilometers. End quote.
That is a massive shift in world history.
It really is. The Suez Canal is a human-made shortcut carved right through Egypt.
Right.
Before 1869, ships from Europe had to sail all the way around the entire bottom of Africa just to reach India.
Which took months. But the shortcut literally saved 7,000 kilometers of travel. It changed global trade overnight.
But the ocean wasn't always the main highway. Quote, India's contacts with the world have continued through ages, but her relationships through the land routes are much older than her maritime contacts. The various passes across the mountains in the north have provided passages to the ancient travelers, while the oceans restricted such interaction for a long time. End quote.
Yeah, maritime contacts just means connections made by sailing on the sea.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Before big, safe boats were invented, the ocean was basically a giant, terrifying wall.
You couldn't just casually cross it.
Right. But the mountains in the north had passes, natural gaps or valleys, and these acted like ancient highways for people walking on foot or riding animals.
Which brings us to the actual trade. Quote, these routes have contributed in the exchange of ideas and commodities since ancient times. The ideas of the Upanishads and the Ramayana, the stories of Panchatantra, the Indian numerals, and the decimal system thus could reach many parts of the world. End quote.
So a commodity is just something you can buy or sell, like goods.
Right, physical stuff. But the text is pointing out that the most important trade wasn't stuff at all, it was brain power.
Yeah, ideas, ancient holy texts like the Upanishads, epic stories like the Ramayana.
And even the math system we use every single day, The decimal system and numerals literally traveled out of India through those freezing mountain passes.
That is incredible to think about.
It really is. But trade goes both ways. Quote, the spices, muslin, and other merchandise were taken from India to different countries.
Right.
On the other hand, the influence of Greek sculpture and the architectural styles of dome and minarets from West Asia can be seen in different parts of our country. End quote.
So India exported muslin, which is a type of super soft cotton cloth, and spices, obviously.
And in return, people brought foreign ideas into India,
Mm.
which is why you can see Greek-style statues or, West Asian domes on buildings in India today.
It's a total blending of cultures through geography.
Exactly.
Okay, let's dive into part 5, India's political puzzle and its neighbors. Quote, India occupies an important strategic position in South Asia. India has 28 states and 8 union territories, end quote.
This is pretty straightforward. Just like the U.S. is broken into 50 states, and India is broken into 28 states to make it easier to manage.
And the 8 union territories.
Those are special areas directly ruled by the central government, like the capital city or those island chains we talked about earlier.
Oh, got it. But it wasn't always this neat. Quote, before 1947, there were 2 types of states in India, the provinces and the princely states. Provinces were ruled directly by British officials, who were appointed by the viceroy. Princely states were ruled by local, hereditary rulers who acknowledged sovereignty in return for local autonomy. End quote.
Yeah, let's do a quick mini history lesson here. Before India became independent in 1947, the map was incredibly messy.
I can imagine.
The British directly controlled the areas called provinces, but the princely states were different. They were ruled by local kings or princes.
And that phrase, acknowledge sovereignty in return for local autonomy.
It simply means the local kings agreed that the British were the ultimate bosses. And in exchange, the British let the kings run their own local day-to-day business.
Ah, okay. So integrating all those different kings into one unified country must have been a massive puzzle.
A staggering political puzzle, yeah.
Okay, next quote. India shares its land boundaries with Pakistan and Afghanistan in the northwest, China specifically, Tibet, Nepal, and Bhutan in the north, and Myanmar and Bangladesh in the east.
All right.
Our southern neighbors across the sea consist of the 2 island countries, namely Sri Lanka and Maldives. End quote.
That paints a really clear mental picture of who lives next door.
Yeah, it literally lists them by direction. The countries bordering India on land to the north, east, and west, and then the 2 island neighbors down south in the water.
Right, and it gives more detail on Sri Lanka. Quote, Sri Lanka is separated from India by a narrow channel of sea formed by the Palk Strait and the Gulf of Mannar, while Maldives Islands are situated to the south of the Lakshadweep Islands. End quote.
Okay, so a strait and a gulf, those are just geographical terms for a narrow strip of water separating 2 pieces of land, right?
Exactly. Sri Lanka is just a really short boat ride across this narrow water channel from the southern tip of India. They are incredibly close geographically.
Quote, India has had strong geographical and historical links with her neighbors. Look at the physical map of Asia in your atlas, and note how India stands apart from the rest of Asia, end quote.
I love that phrase. Stands apart.
Yeah, because India is guarded by these massive mountains in the north and then surrounded by the ocean on 3 sides. It forms its own distinct pocket on the globe.
That's why it's so often called a subcontinent.
Yeah.
It has its own isolated geography.
Okay, and there's one last marginal note here before we hit the exercises. Quote, School Bhuvan, NCERT, is a portal providing map-based learning to bring awareness among the students about the country's natural resources, environment, and their role in sustainable development.
Right.
It is an initiative of Bhuvan NRSI's Row based on NCERT syllabus. You can explore various maps of India related to the secondary stage on their website, end quote.
So to translate all that tech jargon, it's basically a massive shout out to a digital learning website.
Created by the Indian Space Agency, right, ISRO.
Yeah. ISRO and the textbook makers teamed up to build an interactive online map tool for students to explore everything we literally just talked about.
That is actually awesome. Okay, so because we promised this deep dive wouldn't skip a single part of the text, we are going to tackle part 6, the end of chapter quiz.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it together with the listener.
We'll read the questions and solve them based on what we just discussed. First up, multiple choice. Quote, choose the right answer from the 4 alternatives given below. Question 1. The Tropic of Cancer does not pass through A. Rajasthan, B. Odisha, C. Chhattisgarh, or D. Tripura?
Okay, well, we know the Tropic of Cancer cuts straight through the middle of the country horizontally.
Right. And if you look at the map, Odisha is the odd one out here. It doesn't cross it.
Exactly. Question 2, quote, "The easternmost longitude of India is A, 97 degrees 25 minutes east, B, 68 degrees 7 minutes east, C, 77 degrees 6 minutes east, or D, 82 degrees 32 minutes east." End quote.
Oh, we covered this right at the start.
We did. It's the furthest right number on the map, which is 97 degrees 25 minutes east. Option A.
Awesome. Question 3. Quote, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Sikkim have common frontiers with A. China, B. Bhutan, C. Nepal, or D. Myanmar.
So common frontiers just means shared borders.
Right, and based on the northern neighbors we discussed, Nepal is the one that touches all of those specific states. Option C.
Yep. Question 4. Quote, "If you intend to visit Kavarati during your summer vacations, which one of the following Union territories of India you will be going to? A. Puducherry, B. Lakshadweep, C. Andaman and Nicobar, or D. Daman and D."
Okay, we linked this back to the islands in the Arabian Sea. Kavarati is actually the capital of Lakshadweep, so option B.
Nice. Last multiple choice. Quote, "My friend hails from a country which does not share land boundary with India. Identify the country. A. Bhutan, B. Tajikistan, C. Bangladesh, or D. Nepal."
Let's run through the neighbors again. Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Nepal all directly touch India.
Right. But Tajikistan is further away in Central Asia. It doesn't touch the border. Option B.
We aced it. Okay, let's look at the short answer section. Quote, answer the following questions briefly. 1. Name the group of islands lying in the Arabian Sea. 2. Name the countries which are larger than India. 3. Which island group of India lies to its southeast? And 4. Which island countries are our southern neighbors? End quote.
Okay. Rapid fire review in simple terms. Number 1, the islands in the Arabian Sea are the Lakshadweep Islands. Number 2, the countries larger than India are the 6 bigger ones we mentioned when we said India is the 7th largest. Places like Russia, Canada, the U.S., China, Brazil, and Australia.
Right, we didn't list them all earlier, but that's the stat check.
Number 3, the island group to the southeast is the Andaman and Nicobar Islands.
Yep.
And number 4, our southern island neighbors are Sri Lanka and the Maldives.
Boom. Done. Okay, let's hit the conceptual questions. Quote, question 3. The sun rises 2 hours earlier in Arunachal Pradesh as compared to Gujarat in the west, but the watches show the same time. How does this happen?
Oh, we love this one.
Question 4. The central location of India at the head of the Indian Ocean is considered of great significance. Why? End quote.
We basically already saw these in depth. For question 3, it's the standard meridian. India just picked one central clock line at Mirzapur for the whole country to avoid total railway and business confusion.
Right. You can't mandate the sun, but you can mandate the clock.
Yeah.
And for question 4, that central location is significant because it's the ultimate strategic pit stop. It connects the trade routes of east and west right at the head of the ocean.
Exactly. Now, the very last part of the textbook is the map skills and projects section.
I'll read the outline of it. Quote, map skills. Identify the following with the help of map reading. The island groups, the countries constituting Indian subcontinent, the states through which the Tropic of Cancer passes, the northernmost latitude, the southernmost latitude, the eastern and westernmost longitude, the place situated on the 3 seas, the straits separating Sri Lanka and the Union territories of India. End quote.
And the project part says, quote, project activity. Find out the longitudinal and latitudinal extent of your state. Collect information about the Silk Route. Also find out the new developments, which are improving communication routes in the regions of high altitude. End quote.
So obviously we can't draw on a map through a podcast.
Right. These are basically homework assignments for the reader to practice plotting coordinates.
But that Silk Route project is a great thought exercise. It ties perfectly back to those ancient mountain passes we talked about, how ideas and decimals traveled out and silk and spices traveled back and forth.
It really brings the whole textbook full circle.
It does. Wow, we covered a massive amount of ground today. We completely decoded this geographical text into plain English together.
And hopefully we showed that geography is a lot more than just memorizing static lines on a map.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to ponder. Something based on everything we just read, but looking at the incredible contrast between the ancient world and the modern one.
Yeah, consider how thousands of years ago, monumental ideas like mathematics and epic literature slowly walked out of India on foot. through freezing, treacherous mountain passes.
Right.
Then, contrast that slow, brutal journey with the 1869 opening of the Suez Canal. Suddenly, human engineering allowed massive steel ships to just shave 7,000 kilometers off a journey.
It's wild. I want you to mull over how physical geography, the mountains, the oceans, and the canals ultimately dictates the speed at which human beings connect and evolve.
The physical Earth is the ultimate speed limit.
It really is. Keep seeking out knowledge, keep questioning the map, and thank you so much for joining us on this line-by-line deep dive. We'll see you on the next one.